I really want some chocolate cake, but I'm stuck in bed feeling awful. Suddenly, my mother-in-law Grace starts yelling at me to get her a cake right now. I couldn't take it anymore and snapped at her. I told her to get her own cake because I only have a month left to live. My name is Olivia, and I'm 28 years old. I met my husband David through a friend, and we got married after dating for 3 years. We don't have kids yet, but we're enjoying our time together. David's family owns a small factory with about 30 workers. They're doing pretty well in their area. The company was started by David's late dad and has grown thanks to everyone's hard work. Now David's sister, Sophia, is in charge of the company. She's not married, but she's really good at running the business. David thinks she got her skills from mom because they both have great communication abilities. Sophia is really nice and easy to talk to, even when we first met. Sophia, my sister-in-law, greeted me warmly, calling me cute and expressing her happiness to have me as a sister. As someone who only had brothers, it felt nice to gain a sister. However, despite this pleasant start, there's a problem with my mother-in-law. Our company has coffee breaks at 10 o'clock a.m. and 3 o'clock p.m. Times I dread. Here's why. Whenever I'm asked to get mom's coffee, it instantly ruins my mood. Our family home is next to the factory, and after my father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law chose to retire and stay home. She seems to look forward to these coffee breaks, always saying, "I've been waiting for you, Olivia." I wanted to talk to Sophia once, but she gave me a disappointed look. Naturally, she wasn't in a good mood, and before leaving with a forced smile, she said, "Hey, I have something to say to you. So sit here," and then she complains to me until the break is over. She often comments about why we haven't had kids yet, saying it's not something we can control. If I stay quiet, she gets even more irritated. Why such a gloomy face? I wonder why David chose someone like you. Plus, even your parents, who knows how long you'll live. The sooner the better, she said that with a sigh. Hearing her talk like that, especially about my parents, really hurts. And there's a reason for that. When David and I decided to get married and met his family, this happened. "What, you don't have parents?" My mother-in-law looked shocked when I told her. "It's not like I never had parents. My mom passed away from cancer when I was 10, and my dad died of a heart attack when I was 20. My memories of my mom are fuzzy, but my dad raised my brother and me all by himself. I deeply regret that he passed away before I could repay his kindness. When people hear about my situation, they usually look at me with pity and say, 'You must have had a hard time.' But my mother-in-law reacted differently. 'So you might not live long either, huh?' She actually said that while I was stunned by her response. It was so rude and insensitive. My husband David told me that despite my shock, my mother-in-law kept complaining, insisting it was an important issue. Should I rethink this marriage? Just as I was considering that, Sophia, who had been quiet until then, suddenly slammed her hand on the table and said, "What are you talking about?" She said it so quietly that everyone in the room froze. Then my mother-in-law said, "Right, Sophia, you agree with me, don't you?" That's what she said. Sophia's response was icy. "What?" I told Mom. "David chose Olivia himself, and she's wonderful. Why can't you support that?" She said this to my mother-in-law with a cold stare. My mother-in-law, who adored her daughter, seemed shocked by Sophia's words. After that, she stopped making mean comments except when we were alone. Even during the coffee breaks, she looked disappointed when I brought her coffee instead of Sophia. Luckily, David and I rented a room near his family home, so I only had to endure her complaints during those 10-minute coffee breaks. I'm relieved we don't live together. But my peace was suddenly shattered that year. A record-breaking hurricane brought a lot of misfortune my way. "Olivia, something terrible has happened." I'd never heard David sound so panicked. I hurried to the living room and found it in chaos. "What's going on?" Our ceiling was leaking badly because of the hurricane. It wasn't just our room. The owner told us it was happening in other rooms too. It seemed impossible to fix while staying there, so we needed to find somewhere else to live. Sophia suggested cheerfully, "Why worry? Just stay with us. Your commute will be 30 seconds. She said this innocently, so we ended up staying with David's family for a while. "Welcome home, David. It must have been tough, but Mom is happy we can live together again." My mother-in-law greeted us warmly, but David mostly ignored her, acting like a rebellious teenager. Then she said, "Oh, Olivia, you're here too. I didn't notice because you're so quiet. Smile more." My husband looked frustrated, and all I could do was force a smile. knowing we'd be staying there for a while. After moving in, I noticed something odd. The first time was during dinner on our first night. Wanting to show my appreciation, I cooked bread, soup, and steak. It wasn't fancy, but my mother-in-law and sister-in-law said it was delicious and finished it all. I felt genuinely relieved. After a while, my mother-in-law suddenly stood up and brought a container from the fridge, humming a tune. She opened it and piled a ton of its contents onto her steak. Mom, you're still eating that stuff." My husband, sitting next to me, looked disgusted. Sophia, my sister-in-law, rolled her eyes and said she won't stop no matter how many times I tell her. "I've given up." Then she burst into laughter. At first, I couldn't tell what was on top of the steak, but upon closer inspection, I realized it was jam. While it's not uncommon to have sweet sauces on meat, adding jam to a seasoned steak seemed bizarre. "When you eat something salty, you crave something sweet, right?" "That's why," she said, looking quite pleased with herself. Honestly, it gave me heartburn just watching her. For the record, I'm not a fan of sweet sauces on meat. "Come on, Olivia, why don't you try it? It's delicious," my mother-in-law said, turning to me. For the first time, I didn't want to eat it, but I forced a smile. Apparently, that wasn't the reaction she was hoping for. "I'm recommending it for a reason. You might live longer if you follow my example." With that parting shot, she retreated to her room, leaving me speechless. My husband and sister-in-law apologized, saying, sorry, Mom's at it again with her nonsense." Apparently, my mother-in-law has a serious sweet tooth and doesn't feel her day is complete without eating cake. Surprisingly, her annual health checkups always come back normal. Come to think of it, she's always eating cake during our 3:00 p.m. coffee breaks. I remembered that I like cake too, but having it every day would be boring. Plus, what about blood sugar levels? I've always been careful about my health, especially since my parents had short lifespans. So my mother-in-law's jam steak was quite surprising. Wait till Sophia buy cake every day. Caught off guard, Sophia admitted, "Yeah, she makes me go buy it. She says it's embarrassing for her to do it herself." "Thanks to that, I've become good friends with all the local cake shops," Sophia said, laughing. My husband, David, chimed in, "Sophia, this isn't a laughing matter. Mom's getting older. She needs to start caring about her health. I've always left it to Sophia to deal with Mom, and I feel bad about it." With that, he looked frustrated. "Well, I think you guys will have to help out more from now on," Sophia said cheerfully, and I prepared myself for more interactions with my mother-in-law. Living with my in-laws made my commute much shorter, so I took the lead in doing household chores before and after work. I tried to talk to my mother-in-law, but she often ignored me or gave me the cold shoulder. Despite that, she never missed a chance to complain about the kids during our coffee breaks. Since moving here, I've been having more rough days. It's probably the stress. My mood was low and my husband noticed. He offered several times to go to the doctor with me. "Let's move out and stay at a hotel for a while," he suggested, but I turned it down because it felt like a waste of money, and the nearest hotel was still a bit far. Then the worst news came, a week-long business trip. I was stunned when my husband told me. The reason for my dread? Sophia, my sister-in-law, would also be going, meaning I'd be alone with my mother-in-law. Yeah, I said it. My husband offered to take me with him, but I thought, it's just a week. I hope I can manage, especially since I still wasn't feeling well. On the day they left, Sophia sent me a mother-in-law survival guide to my phone. "If anything happens, just give her cake and you'll be fine." I couldn't help but laugh. The guide included local cake shops and my mother-in-law's favorite cakes from each. For someone like me who was gearing up for a tough week, this information was a lifesaver. In a week, our home renovations would be done, and we could move back. I thought optimistically. I could handle this, but that hope faded on the first night. When I returned from work, my mother-in-law was blocking the entrance. "You know why I'm angry, don't you?" she snapped. "No, I don't. I'm not psychic," I replied, losing patience. "You missed both the 10:00 a.m. and 3:00 p.m. coffee breaks today." Her words caught me off guard. Indeed, with my husband and Sophia away and end-of-month tasks piling up, I'd completely forgotten about my mother-in-law's coffee breaks, and I never had a coffee break myself. I thought she'd understand since she used to work, but she yelled at me the moment we were alone. You start this harassment, you wicked woman, she said with an angry look. I felt a huge disconnect. Why was I being yelled at like this? Did I deserve to be called wicked? Suppressing my anger, I thought, it's just a few more days, and said, I did buy cake during my lunch break. It's in the office fridge. Sorry I didn't bring it here. Her face instantly changed from angry to smiling. Let's forget about today. Don't forget tomorrow, okay? She said cheerfully and went back to her room. From then on, I made sure never to forget the coffee breaks, knowing how much trouble it would cause if I upset my mother-in-law. On the day my husband and Sophia were supposed to return, I felt incredibly stressed. I was hit with nausea, headaches, and a loss of appetite. I took the day off and went to the hospital. It's pretty serious. Can your family come right away? I couldn't stop crying at the doctor's words. I was told I have cancer and at most 6 months, maybe even just 1 month, to live. I returned home, my face stained with tears, my body trembling, and collapsed onto the bed. The door burst open. What are you doing, skipping work? Sophie and David are working hard, and you're slacking off? Her yelling worsened my headache. I didn't have the energy to respond, so I just said, I'm not feeling well, and closed my eyes. Mother-in-law didn't seem to care. She didn't want to leave the room and kept complaining to me. She said things like, that's why you can't have kids, and who knows if you'll live long. I just stayed silent, pretending to be asleep. Then suddenly, she asked about today's coffee break. Is she really this insensitive? I thought, opening my eyes to see her standing over me. Grace, I'm sorry. I'm not feeling well enough to go shopping today. Could you please? She cut me off. I don't care. I want chocolate cake now. Go buy it. You're probably faking it. She screamed at me louder than ever. My frustration exploded at the woman in front of me, who was acting selfishly like a child. Shut up. Listen to me. I have 1 month to live. Go buy your own damn cake, you idiot. My words seemed to shock my mother-in-law, who stared at me wide-eyed. Then, from behind her, Mom, what are you doing? And Olivia, what do you mean by 1 more month? My husband, looking pale, and my sister-in-law, equally concerned, were standing there. Oh, weren't you supposed to come back tomorrow? Ignoring the visibly shaken mother-in-law, my husband came to my side. I felt so relieved by his action that I burst into tears. I can't take it anymore. The doctor says it might be cancer, and I'm not feeling well, but you keep nagging me to go buy cake. Enough is enough. Stop bothering me about the kids too. Just leave me alone, you idiot. I let out all my resentment towards my mother-in-law while crying. My husband and sister-in-law looked at her with cold eyes. Sending a sick person to buy cake. Are you stupid? Sophia, who's usually all smiles, had a face I'd never seen before. A terrifying one. You've been making snide remarks about the kids. Look, I didn't say anything because it's a private matter, but the reason we can't have kids is me. My husband raised his voice as he said this. In reality, about a year after we got married, we consulted a doctor because we were having trouble conceiving. The test showed that I was fine, but my husband's numbers were low. He felt really down about it and kept apologizing to me with a sad face. I didn't want to make him feel that way, so I avoided talking about kids as much as possible. I did want children, but I thought life with just my husband was enough. I never considered leaving him because we couldn't have kids. I didn't tell my mother-in-law because I knew she'd start nagging. She listened to my husband's words with a face like her soul had been sucked out. Just then, my cell phone rang. The caller ID showed it was the hospital. Hello, yes, right now. My husband just got home. Okay, understood. The doctor who had called earlier sounded urgent, asking us to come right away. Am I really that sick? I started to cry from the anxiety. It's okay, Olivia. Can you stand? I'm with you. My husband, who also looked like he was about to cry, and I rushed to the hospital. As we were leaving, I caught a glimpse of my mother-in-law getting a stern lecture from Sophia. When we arrived at the hospital, we were immediately ushered into a room where the doctor and even the hospital director were waiting to offer us a deep apology. It was a misdiagnosis. According to the doctor, they had mixed up my medical records with another patient who had the same name and birth date as me. I couldn't believe such a thing could happen, but the doctor did look extremely worn out. This incident was later covered in a local news segment, and the hospital vowed to review its working conditions. We were then referred to another hospital. When we returned to my in-laws' house, my mother-in-law seemed to have been scolded by Sophia and was shrinking in her seat. Sophia later told me she was worried that her newlywed son might lose his wife and be heartbroken. It might be love turned inside out, but it was a real hassle seeing our tear-streaked faces. Even my mother-in-law broke down. Did I really do something that bad? She started crying. So what about Olivia? Sophia asked with a concerned look. I'm pregnant, I said, tears of joy filling my eyes. My husband was also shedding tears of happiness beside me. We immediately went to the maternity hospital as advised. It's still early, but yes, you're pregnant. We can confirm the heartbeat. Hearing that, we both burst into tears, even though we were in a hospital. Sophia also cried, saying, I'm so glad, so very glad. As for what happened next, Sophia got engaged to her long-term boyfriend and moved to another state with him after quitting her job. We had heard about this beforehand, so it wasn't a surprise. My husband, who was taking over as the new CEO, seemed to have his hands full with client visits. The business trip, by the way, was for that reason. He told me later that he was able to come home a day early because it ended sooner than expected. Mother-in-law seemed to know nothing about it. What? Getting married, quitting her job, and moving to another state. She was shocked. Sophia told her, Yeah, I told you. Remember? Well, it doesn't matter. It's settled. Mother-in-law was in a daze, and we all laughed. We returned home to find our leaky roof repaired and our room looking brand new. We cheered in delight. Things remained awkward with mother-in-law. My husband was angrier than I was and said he never wanted to see her again. But mother-in-law started showing up occasionally during our coffee breaks, holding not cake but small snacks like biscuits. She had stopped the daily cakes and jam steaks, apparently trying to be more health-conscious now that she knew a grandchild was on the way. Employees who had worked there since my father-in-law was CEO seemed happy to see mother-in-law. So I realized she wasn't inherently a bad person. Our conversations gradually increased, and she stopped complaining. When our daughter Emma was born, mother-in-law transformed. She started doing things like buying diapers and leaving side dishes for dinner, saying, Feel free to eat. You're always working so hard. Even when she knew I was home, she'd send a message and leave without ringing the doorbell. The side dishes were in a cooler, and I appreciated her thoughtfulness. I felt I could get along with this version of mother-in-law. What really convinced me was when Emma was born. Mother-in-law took my hand and said, Thank you, Olivia. Really, thank you. Seeing her tears, I knew she was sincere. Sophia also seems to be doing well and recently announced her pregnancy. It seems like it won't be long before we all gather at the in-laws' house for a friendly meal.